Okay, it's time to go local. We have been working on code space this entire time, and now part of this class experience is actually going from having a code space out on the cloud to having an install on your local system. So that's the goal for today's assignment for the Monday due date. So, what you're going to do here is you're going, and this is a major milestone, no doubt, for anybody that's worked in this industry. They've generally experienced both of these, but most of them work locally. But again, there's no always because everybody has a different setup based on how they work and their workflow. But for this class, we want you to have the experience of a local install. Now, before we do this, and this is an important piece, I actually want you to make sure, because I'm going to have you in a second delete your code spaces. Now, we're only deleting the code space, we're not deleting your repos, okay? And I'm going to show you what you want to make sure you've done before you've deleted them. And here's the deal, you can bring them back. The reason I wouldn't yet is until you get through this setup. And if you have this setup and a code space, it can get pretty confusing. And it is totally doable. I've done it now and again and when I needed to. But in general, from here on out, work local if it's at all possible. If not, come get some help. Be happy to talk to you about that. All right, so we're going to sync up the code spaces. So what does that mean? And I already have my private repo, okay, and my public repo open on GitHub. And so what I want to do here is that I want to make sure everything that I had been doing inside my code spaces has actually been pushed to GitHub. And we, in this term, we call it, is it synced up? Okay. So how do you know? Well, one way is you could just go into the code and then go into here. But there's a quick way right here. If it says no changes, then you are good to go with the next step. Okay. If it says changes, right? Or I can't remember the exact word it says, but if it anything but no changes, you need to go ahead and open it and make sure you commit anything that was in there because what we're about to do is delete that code space. Again, we're not touching this repo. You could create one in the future. You just need to do this step for both your public and your private. So I'm going to show you both. So on both of mine, because I intentionally did this, is I have no changes. And if I have that, then I can go ahead and do the next step. Let's go ahead and back here, right? Well, we're going to delete them. Okay. So, and the reason is it creates any confusion. My hope is that it eliminates, prevents any confusion. Okay. So it's pretty easy to do this. In this interface, there's an option down here and you can scroll down, you can see the delete. Now it's going to give you a little flash that says, hey, are you sure? And say, yeah, I'm sure, right? Again, you can bring it back later and it's gone, right? If I ever needed to, I could come back in and create another one. But for now, don't do that. So do that for both your public and your private. Okay. So I'm sorry, public and private. Okay. All right. Now, once you do that, let me go ahead and get rid of, oh no, I actually need to leave that up for the next thing. Okay. So now we're going to do something I had suggested in week one you not do. Okay. So in week one, there are instructions to walk you through the development environment setup. Okay. So I'm going to, in my other tab, I have another Canvas instance or a browser tab open. I'm going to scroll back up to one and I'm going to look at setup dev environment. Okay. And so in here, you all, I'm guessing, went through and did this part, which you don't have to redo because the repo is already set up. But you're going to not create a code space, but you're going to do this part where you install VS Code, you install Git. So these are local installs. And again, these videos walk you through that. And then you'll walk through the clone. So the clone is one of those steps that depending on your operating system, you will have something pop up that asks you to log in from the browser and it shows it in here. So you do that and then you configure it. And then you go through the Git workflow. Now, in this case, the Git workflow for code space and for local is not really any different, but I am going to show you one little key that can trip students up. Okay, so now at this point, you could go ahead and do that, pause and come back if you want. Okay, so now in this case, the pro tip was, and I definitely recommend local, is you set up a folder. And in that folder, you're going to clone in that step that you did, the public and the private repos. And what's important to know about this is this folder that is going to have these two repos is not itself a Git repo. So when you try, if you ever do try to do Git commands on it, it'll give you an error. Okay. And I'll show you this now. So in this case, we're going to actually, well, we'll move on to that place in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and open mine because I had already done my cloning, right? So in this case, what I have is I have that base folder, right? And again, I'm not walking through those instructions. Make sure you go find them over there, okay? But if I did open a terminal right now, and this is what I want to show you, right? So, and I'll drop some of these so it's a little more clear maybe. Oh, get rid of them, bring them back. So I'm in, and I could there's another command called pwd, but I can also tell just by looking at this folder that I'm in that base folder that I created on my local system. And so if I ever tried to do git status, right, it would tell me, right, so this, not a git repository, right? So it's just fatal. There's nothing, because you're trying to run a git command on a folder that is not a repo. So in this case, I would have to do cd change to, I hit D. Now this is where you go to quick search. And that's just where it looks through your folder, looks through the folders and tries to figure out which one you want. Okay. Now the other way I've shown you how to do this is to open an integrated terminal. Now you won't have files. That's just something I have on mine. So now from here, if I do pwd, then it shows me, oh, okay, user, documents, that base folder. And then from here, I could do git status and other git commands. Now, in this case, I have nothing to version control. I just wanted to show you. Okay, so that's what this is intended to give you the heads up about. So now you're going to open that base folder, right? And then you're going to open a terminal, right? And in this case, I need to add, I see this here, I need to add the step because what you're going to end up doing, oh no, it did, your private repo. Because in this case, you can, right? Again, I was just showing you how to determine which one you're on. PWD, I was on my private one, so I'm in a good place. I could do clear to clear that out if I want. And then what you're going to do, and this gives you the keyboard shortcut for opening up the terminal, then you're going to run this command, okay? You can just copy it and paste it. And what this is going to do, and if you'll get this and it'll output some content. So these are all the commits, and when you get to end, you can just hit quit, okay? So just run this, and the reason I'm having you run this is so you can see that these are all the commits that you had done out on CodeSpace and that are now here local for you. So when you cloned, you brought all that Git goodness, I could say, with you. Okay. So now take your print screen, use whoosh to resize it, something like this, name it this. And again, this is a repeat, so I'm not going to go through this, right? Note whichever extension you've done, then place that in your public repo, right, on VS Code. So, and that's the other nice thing about having both here is I could just click into here, go into my screenshots, right, and then have that placed in there. Okay, so this is the, here's the name you want to give it, right, commit, oh, sorry, this is the commit message, right, here's the name you want to give it, which whatever extension you choose. Right, and I just went over the troubleshooting for that one. Make sure. Okay, so now what you want to do, and we've done this too, so it's a little bit of a repeat. We're embedding this in your reply. So this is where once you have that pushed out there, right, you want to go and make sure you can see it because this step is really, really important. Okay, so if I don't remember my URL, right, I could always kind of look at this and try to put it together. Right? So I could put it together by going, what was my repo name? Now mine is just demo, okay, .pub. And then from there, if I hit enter, it's just going to look at that README file, but I could do screenshots. Okay. And then in this case, I would know what the file name was if I had named it based on the instructions. What I was supposed to name it was week 3 go local, right? And I think I use my typical other extension. So I go back here, right? And then I'll do, and I must have missed a step. So, here's one way, and this, if you see this, don't freak out if you don't see the file. One way I can make sure I got this, I'm just looking at it real quick, and maybe I haven't pushed, but I was pretty sure I did, is I go back to 82. Now I can go to the GitHub view. I can go to my public. I can go to my screenshots. Local setup, that looked okay. Let's see, maybe I misspelled it. And that could happen, right? So I could come back over here, go local screenshots, public. There we go. I must have. Let me go back and look. Oh yeah, I said go local. That's why. So that's the actual name. So now that I know I have that right, so in a sense, I'm glad that happened because that could be a common thing that could happen to you. Is that when you're trying to, build that URL, that somehow it doesn't work, because if you don't do that part and you hit reply, remember you hit upload, you're not actually uploading, you're actually referencing, right? Dev setup. Okay. That's really important to do those alt, hit there, and then it should show up. Okay. So that's your proof. Did I resize the image? A valid extension. Did I correctly embed it in here? And then, right, so here's your like guide for what you're going to post, right? Is did the installation of Git or VS Code surprise you in any way? What was it like seeing your Git hub history appear on the terminal, right? What was one feature of VS Code you're excited to try out now that it's local? And now if you're not sure, this is where you could go out to Gen AI and maybe have it help you determine some of the nice features that you can have local, okay, that you wouldn't necessarily have. Which, by the way, let me just say this as well. This is where, coming into here, making sure you have live server installed, okay, making sure, if not, go ahead and install that as well so you see the go live. Okay, all right, hope this helps you out. Talk to you later.